Yo, what's going on guys? Camille here. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to build Kuki Shinobu. We'll be doing her sub DPS slash healer build. I'm going to be giving you guys options that both lean in towards being like more as a healer and also as a sub DPS. You can also build her physical, I guess, but we're not going to be doing this today. It's not really recommended to build her physical, obviously. She's not made for that and she won't be like a viable physical DPS. But if you still want to build her physical and you want to play her, I recommend you check out my Kaching physical build or Kaching guide. You're gonna see a physical build there. It's gonna be pretty much similar in everything. So yeah, if you still want to build her physical, go check out my Kaching guide. Otherwise, let's see her sub DPS slash healer build. Alright, so first of all, since she's a new character, we're gonna quickly explain her skills. So her elemental skill is that when you press it, you're gonna have like a ring around you. It's gonna do some initial damage, and then this ring is gonna be doing damage every 1.5 seconds, and it's gonna be healing you too. And also every time you use it, it's gonna consume some of your HP. Her elemental burst is pretty simple. You're just gonna hit it. It's gonna be doing some AoE electro damage, and it's also gonna scale off of your HP. Also, like Hu Tao, if you have less than 50% HP, it's gonna be stronger. So yeah, it's pretty simple really. For her passives, when your HP is less than 50%, you're gonna gain some extra healing bonus. And her second passive is just you're gonna be scaling off a little bit with elemental mastery. You're gonna increase your healing amount by 75% of your elemental mastery, and your damage dealt by 25% of your elemental mastery. So yeah, that's a little scale off of elemental mastery for Kuki. So yeah, that's basically it for her talents. It's pretty simple. You just want to do your elemental skill and then do your elemental burst for damage. That's it. Your elemental skill is going to be doing damage, applying electro, and also heals you. Now moving on to her talent priorities. So the first talent you'd want to prioritize is going to be either skill or burst. If you want her more for like damage, you'd want to upgrade your elemental burst first. If you want her more as like a balance slash healer focus, you'd want to upgrade your elemental skill first. Generally, you'd want to upgrade them both. Your auto attacks are not important at all unless you're playing her as a physical DPS, obviously, but that's not what we're doing today. So yeah, you just want to upgrade either a skill burst or burst skill. I recommend keeping them around the same level regardless of the build. Now moving on to her constellations, we're going to see which ones are kind of worth it and which ones are not. So her C1 is just going to increase the AoE of your elemental burst by half. It's a pretty cool constellation. I wouldn't say it's necessary at all. The AoE is already kind of enough in my opinion. It's not really very necessary, but the thing is it's C1 for a 4-star character, so yeah, it's kind of cool. I would say it's good. C2 is going to increase the duration of your elemental skill. I'd say that's a good constellation too, especially because it's cheap. It's C2 and you're also going to have full uptime on your elemental skill. So you're going to have 12 seconds plus 3 seconds. That's 15 seconds, and the skill has 15 seconds of cooldown. C3 is going to increase the level of your elemental skill by 3. I mean, it's a good constellation too, more healing and also more damage, but it's definitely not necessary. I would say it's good. C4 is that when you have the ring around you on the active character, when he deals normal, charge, or plunging attacks, the ring is going to be hitting opponents with electro damage. It's not really going to be much, and it's only every like 5 seconds. To be honest, I wouldn't say C4 is worth it. We're also getting close to like being too expensive here, so yeah, C4 I would say it's not really that good. C5 is going to increase the level of your elemental burst. If you're building her for damage, then it might be worth it. Otherwise, I'd say probably not. Her C6 is that she's basically not gonna die. Say for example, you only have like 1000 HP left, and then an enemy hit you with like 1500. Usually you're gonna die, but if you have C6, you're gonna be left with like 1 HP, so it's gonna protect you from the last hit, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's probably whatever. It's not really important at all, and it's also gonna give you 150 elemental mastery if you drop below 25%, and it's only 15 seconds out of 60 seconds. I'd say our C6 is kinda cool. I mean, it's not really like that big of a deal to be honest, but it's good. For a C6, it's definitely not worth it in my opinion, but if you have it, you're gonna see an increase. Since she scales pretty well with elemental mastery, you're gonna see a healing bonus increase, and you're gonna see a damage increase. Even though I would say it's a bit hard to like stay below 25% HP, 50% it's calm, you know, it's doable, but 25% it can be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but it's still doable, especially because they protect you from dying like once. You can just stay there and take hits and then leave, and you're gonna be left with 1 HP, and you can trigger the C6. So yeah, for constellations, I would say you can go from like C1 to C3, and that's if you want to invest in her. Otherwise, none of them are necessary. None of them is gonna like change her or anything like that. So yeah, I'd say C0 is fine, and up to like C3 is also pretty good. Alright, so now moving on to her weapons. So for weapons, we're gonna have usually support weapons. These are the weapons that are gonna focus more on support. So they're gonna either increase her HP, elemental mastery, or help her with energy. For these weapons, we have the Freedom Sword. That's probably the best weapon for Kuki in general. It works pretty well with her, and you're gonna be providing a lot of support to your teammates. You can also use the Favonius for more energy. You can use the Jade Cutter for more HP, or you can also use the Dark Iron for more elemental mastery, and also it's gonna be pretty easy to have the passive. So yeah, these are generally her support weapons. Otherwise, if you want to use her more as like a selfish DPS, you can use any other DPS weapon. You know, the crit weapons, the usual 5 stars, all of this. So you know, you have the usual, the Jade Cutter, the Summit Shaper, you have the Mist Splitter, the Harangepuku Futsu, the crit weapons, the Black Cliff, and the Black Sword. The Lion's Roar is gonna be viable too. You know, all of the usual DPS swords. Alright, so now moving on to her artifact sets. So her best in slot set is probably going to be the 4-piece Nasty of the Millilith. Her elemental skill is going to be hitting opponents continuously, so you're going to have the 4-piece effects full time easily. It's also going to help you with HP, so yeah, it's a pretty good set for her. You can also use the 4-piece Noblesse. You're not really going to have full uptime, but it's also usable. For damage, you can use the 4-piece Ocean Hued. It's also going to help you a little bit with healing bonus. It's not really recommended because she doesn't really heal as much, so you're probably not going to have the full damage, but it's still a kind of viable option. If you want to build her for like pure damage, even though it's not really recommended, you can use a 2-piece Thunder and Fury for electro damage bonus, and then any other 2-piece like the 2-piece Nasty for example, or like 2-piece Noblesse or 2-piece Wanderers for elemental mastery, anything like that. Attack is not really that good on her, so I wouldn't recommend going with like attack 2 pieces. Now moving on to her artifact stats. So for the main stats, there's gonna be a wide range you can choose from. So for your sense, you can go either HP or elemental mastery. For your goblet, you can go either HP or electro. And then for your circlet, you can go either crit damage, or crit rate, or HP. So usually you'd want to have HP on at least like 1 or 2 of them, and then you'd want to build whatever you want. For example, you can have like HP, and then crit, or like HP, electro, and then HP. It really depends what you want, but the thing is, electro and crit are going to be better for damage. So if you want to focus on damage, you probably should have those and then an HP Sands. But if you don't really care about her damage, you can go like full HP. She's going to be healing you a lot with full HP, and she's still going to be doing like some sort of decent damage. Or you can go like elemental mastery, HP for example. That's also going to be a viable option. I would say it really depends on your substats. Whatever you have the better substats on, you should probably use it. Talking about substats, you should focus on getting HP, elemental mastery, and crit. Obviously, if you're not building her for damage, then you don't need crit. Now for the final stats you'd want to have on Kuki. So energy recharge, she doesn't really need a lot. I would say you should probably stay around 140 to 170 energy recharge. That's gonna be enough. It depends on your team and stuff like that, but this range is definitely gonna be enough. If you want to build her for crit, then obviously you should have the usual crit rate and crit damage ratios. You know, 1-to-2 ratio, or you can say around 50 to 70% crit rate, and then 100 to 140% crit damage or more. Now moving on to her team comps. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm not really gonna lie at all. She's not really that great meta-wise. For almost all of her team comps, she probably can be replaceable, but she still has some decent uses in some cases. But yeah, for her teams, you should look for a team who needs electro, or at least doesn't mind electro, and also needs a healer. So yeah, that's probably the type of teams you'd want to play her in. For example, you can use her as a electro enabler and a healer for a physical team. The best one for that is Eula. So for example, you can have Eula, then Kuki, then say Rosaria, and then Zhongli, Yunjin, or whatever. So yeah, on that team, she's gonna be boosting Eula with like the 4-piece tenacity. She's gonna be a healer, and she's gonna be a great electro enabler. Obviously, you can use her as a electro enabler for a electro charge team. So for example, you can have Yellen, Xingqiu, Child, or any hydro enabler, and then you can have Kuki as a electro enabler and a healer. You can have like Sucrose or Kazuha or whatever as a Nemo, and then you can have another electro like Beidou or Official for example, or you can have Bennett or Zhongli or whatever you want. So yeah, this is the general idea of her teams. You just want to look for a team who doesn't mind electro, like electro is not going to mess up your reactions or anything like that, and that team also needs a healer. That's pretty much it with her teams. I would say she's kind of flexible, honestly. She won't really be providing like a humongous value to a lot of teams, but she's going to be a decent character, especially if you like her and she looks good, her abilities look good, stuff like that. So if you want to play her, you can in many enemy teams. So yeah, that was the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. If you want to say anything, leave it in the comments. If you want to ask anything, leave it in the comments. And yeah, see y'all in the next video. Peace.